Okay, Rich Van Tassel back with you, continuing on with the recap of the 1 o'clock games of Week 1 of the NFL season. The Pittsburgh Steelers 21-18. I didn't think Cleveland would be this close. I thought Cleveland might hang around early. Hats off to Deshaun Kaiser in this one. The box score first, however. For the visiting Steelers, Ben Roethlisberger, 24 of 36, 263 yards. He had 2 touchdowns, did have 1 interception. Le'Veon Bell, 10 for 32, 3.2 yards per carry. James Conner, 4 for 11, 2.8 yards per carry. Ben Roethlisberger, 3 for minus 8 yards, so minus 2.7 yards per carry for him. That really brought the numbers down to only 2.1 yards per carry, 17 of 35. But Le'Veon Bell and James Conner, 14 of 43 between the two of them is not great either. Antonio Brown was great. 11 catches, 182 yards, no touchdown. Jesse James, 6 for 41. He had 2 touchdowns. Brown did fumble. It was not lost. Sorry, I didn't even realize I still had those games on. T.J. Watt had 2 sacks, so outplaying his brother in this one. Anthony Ciccolillo had 2 sacks. Joe Hayden, 1 sack. Javon Hargrave, 1 sack. Cameron Hayward, 1 sack. 7 sacks total for the Pittsburgh Steelers. T.J. Watt had an interception, so he really outplayed his brother in this one. Nothing really of note in the return games. No field goals for the Steelers kicker. For Cleveland, Deshaun Kaiser, I'm very surprised. 20 of 30, 222 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Give him credit. And it shows what Cleveland can do if they have any sort of quarterback play. Isaiah Crowell, 17 carries, 33 yards, 1.9 yards per rush. Deshaun Kaiser, 5 for 17, 3.4 yards per rush. He had 1 touchdown, 25 of 57 total, 2.3 yards per rush. Corey Coleman, 5 for 53, 1 touchdown. Seth DeVale, 4 for 42. Isaiah Crowell, 2 for 33. In the receiving game, Jabril Peppers, the rookie, did recover a fumble. Hats off to him. Carol Nazib had 1 sack. Derek Kindred had an interception. He returned at 30 yards. It was not for a touchdown. Jabril Peppers, 3 punt returns for 34 yards, so that's pretty good for a return. His longest was 25, though, so that's a good return, don't get me wrong, but it's not like he was breaking up on a lot of punts for, over 10 yards, but he had a good game all the way around. Zane Gonzalez made a field goal. So the Pittsburgh Steelers, Ben Roethlisberger, not great, apart from what he was doing to Antonio Brown. If you have 182 yards on 11 catches to one guy, but you only have 263 yards total in the game and don't even have 25 completions, it shows there. So Steelers have got a lot of work to do with their offense, running the ball as well. For the Cleveland Browns, hey, Deshaun Kaiser, maybe you do have something there. I never thought the kid couldn't play. I just wouldn't start him with such a terrible team. You look at it, they were getting no running game. He was sacked 10 times, and he still only turned the ball over once and went 20 for 30. So they have to figure out that line play. You have Joe Thomas on the line, so I'm a little surprised there that they were as poor as they were. Total on the offensive line. I know they're not great. There's nothing spectacular with this Cleveland Browns team. Nothing jumps out at you by any means, but you do have Joe Thomas, who is a pretty elite left tackle in the game, so to be sacked 10 times is very surprising to me, but hats off to Deshaun Kaiser for playing well. The rookie did play well, of course, Jabril Peppers, so you have some things to work with the Cleveland Browns. Much more worried about the Pittsburgh Steelers with the way they played in this one than anything else. Philadelphia Eagles 30-17 over the Washington Redskins. Carson Wentz 26 of 39, 307 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. LeGarrette Blount 14 of 46, 3.3 yards per carry. Carson Wentz 4.6, Wendell Smallwood 4.44. The team altogether 24 of 58, 2.4 yards per rush. Zach Ertz 8 of 93, Nelson Aguilar 6 of 86 had a touchdown. Darren Sproles 5 for 43. Alshon Jeffrey only 3 of 38, and Torrey Smith. So the guys they brought in to really help Carson Wentz. Nothing spectacular. Fletcher Cox recovered a fumble. He returned that for a touchdown at the end of the game. I thought it was an incomplete pass, but whatever, the game's over now. Trey Burton recovered a fumble. Jordan Hicks recovered a fumble. Carson Wentz lost a fumble. 4 sacks. Brandon Graham had 2 of them. Tim Jernigan had 1. And Fletcher Cox had the other. Fletcher Cox is a very good player. Jalen Mills had an interception in the red zone. We'll talk about that. And Caleb Sturgis 3 for 3 in his field goals. Nothing really of note. In the return games, for the Washington Redskins, Kirk Cousins, not very good, 23 of 40, 240 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Kirk Cousins was the leading rusher, 4 for 30, 7.5 yards per rush. Rob Kelly, 10 of 33 yards per rush. 17 of 64 altogether, 3.8 yards per rush, which is pretty bad considering your quarterback was your leading rusher, especially not going over the 4 yards marks, and your quarterback's your leading guy. Terrell Pryor had 6 receptions for 66 yards, 666. Never really like seeing those numbers, but it is what it is. Ryan Grant, 4 for 61. Chris Thompson, 4 for 52. He had the only touchdown. Mason Foster recovered a fumble. Kirk Cousins lost 2 fumbles. It was bad all the way around. Of course, that fumble at the end of the game as well iced it, and Jamison Crowder lost a fumble. Only 2 sacks. One of them was split between Kerrigan and Matt Ioandis. And Preston Smith had the other one. Ryan Kerrigan did have an interception. He returned it for a TD. Bashar Breeland, 3 returns for 59 yards with the longest of 24. Not terrible, not great either. And Dustin Hopkins was 1 for 1 in his field goals. Washington, I don't think Philly honestly played all that well, to be completely honest with you. Washington really gave them this game. As, of course, we had the turnovers. Kirk Cousins had a brutal one where he was off his back foot in the red zone. They were at least in field goal range, threw it towards the end zone, and that was it. It was a terrible pass. We've seen Kirk Cousins do that. You look in this game. Penalties, only 2 of 15 for Washington, so they limited their penalties. It was 8 of 76 for the Philadelphia Eagles, but again, the turnovers were just brutal, and they came at the worst times. Sometimes it's not all about the turnovers, it's just when you have them. So a lot of work to do for Kirk Cousins. He tends to get better as the year goes on. That's, his MO. We've seen that before, and he'll just have to continue to do that moving forward. The Atlanta Falcons, this was another game I talked about. They were able to escape with the victory over the Chicago Bears, 23-17. Matt Ryan, 21 of 31, touchdown, no interceptions. Tevin Coleman, 12 of 37, 3.1 yards per rush, a touchdown. Or no, that was Devontae Freeman, excuse me. Tevin Coleman was 8 of 16 for 2 yards per rush. Altogether, the team 23 of 64, 2.8 yards per rush, 1 touchdown. They're much better than that with that two-headed monster. Austin Hooper, 2 receptions, 128 yards, had a average of 64 yards per reception. His longest was only 88, and I say only 88. Of course, that's a long touchdown, but the other one was still 40 yards. So that's something that you don't expect from a tight end, and you certainly don't expect it when you have guys like Julio Jones on the team. He had 4 receptions for 66 yards. Mohamed Sanu, 6 for 47. Tevin Coleman, 4 for 42. The team had 4 sacks. One of them came to ice the game. Brooks Reed had 2 of them. That was the final one. Vic Beasley Jr. also had 1. Nothing of note in the return games. Matt Bryant is automatic. He was 3 for 3 in his field goals. For the Chicago Bears, Mike Lennon, I thought, played very well in this game. He was done in by some drops. We'll talk about that in a moment. 26 of 40. 213 yards, 1 touchdown, no interceptions. Tariq Cohen, 5 carries for 66 yards. That's the short guy they drafted. He's only 5'6". They drafted in the 4th round. Jordan Howard, 13 of 52, 4 yards per rush, 1 touchdown. The team altogether 19 of 125, 6.6 yards per rush. And, of course, the touchdown by Jordan Howard. Tariq Cohen, 8 for 47. He had a touchdown. Zach Miller, 4 for 39. Kendall Wright, 3 of 34 in the receiving game. And of course, there goes my computer, acting up again. Roy Robertson Harris recovered a fumble. Always got to have those tricky names with these guys. Hold on, my computer is messing around. Alright, hopefully we got it back. As we said, Roy Robertson Harris recovered a fumble. Deontay Thompson, 1 fumble. Was not lost. Mike Lennon lost a fumble. Akeem Hicks, 2 sacks. Leonard Floyd did not have a sack in this game. I thought he played very well. I thought Chicago's secondary, which was suspect, especially with Prince Amukamara out, played well. Nothing really of note in the return games. Deontay Thompson, 2 for 47. Actually, no, they were very good in the returns because Devontae Thompson, 2 of 47, 23.5. Benny Cunningham, 1 of 23. So they had 3 returns by 2 different guys, and they were all over 23 yards. Tariq Cohen, 3 returns for 45 yards in the punt game. 17 yards was his longest, so he was right there at 15 yards per return. You expect to see those smaller guys do the punt returns. Connor Borth made his only field goals. Chicago, we said, could hang around. Hey, this is one of those games where if Chicago would have pulled it out, you're looking at a team that could potentially, be close to the playoffs. Chicago is going to be right around 5-11, 6-10. This is usually what the difference is between 5-11 teams and 9-7 teams. You don't get out to that big start. I'm not one of these like momentum guys or anything like that, but you win a game like this against the defending NFC champion. They had 4 chances inside the 10 on the last drive of the game. They weren't able to punch it in. There were 2 drops. They were very unfortunate. So it's one of those things where you come away with a victory like this, you get off to 1-0, you're trying to turn the page, you have the new quarterback. Hey, who knows, things might happen, but they weren't able to do it. One of them was a touchdown that was dropped. Another one, the guy dropped it, but he was coming out of his break. So, you'd like to see the catch, but you're not going to kill the guy. And then finally it ended in a sack. So give Atlanta credit for coming away with the victory, but a tough loss for the Chicago Bears. The New York Jets lost to the Buffalo Bills 21-12 in favor of Buffalo. Josh McCown, 26 completions of 39 attempts, but only 187 yards. Come on. No touchdowns. 2 interceptions. Bilal Powell, 7 of 22 running, 3.1. Matt Forte, 6 of 16. Altogether, the team 15 of 38, 2.5 yards per rush. Josh McCown did have a rushing touchdown, but he had 2 carries for no yards. Jermaine Kerr, 7 of 59. Will Tye, 3 for 34. Eric Tomlinson, 2 of 25 in the receiving game. Khalif Raymond, 2 fumbles. He lost both of them. The team did have some sacks in this game. It was only 2 of them. One of them was split between Josh Martin and Demario Davis. Darren Lee had the other, so Leonard Williams did not have one. Josh Burris had an interception returned at 48 yards, but it was not for a touchdown. Khalif Raymond, who fumbled twice and lost both of them, he had 2 returns of 45 yards. These are kick returns. He also returned 3 punts for 27 yards. Chandler Cantizero, 2 for 2 in his field goals. The Buffalo Bills, Tyrod Taylor, 16 of 28, 224 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Good, not spectacular by Tyrod Taylor. LaShawn McCoy, 22 carries, 110 yards, 5 yards per rush. Mike Tolbert, 12 of 42, 3.5. He had the touchdown. Tyrod Taylor, 8 of 38, 4.8 yards per rush. Buffalo can run the ball. We know this. 42 carries, 190 yards, 4.5 yards per rush. Jordan Matthews, 2 for 61. Charles Clay, 4 for 53. He had the touchdown. Charles Clay is that guy Tyrod Taylor loves. LaShawn McCoy, 5 for 49. No fumbles. The team had 1 sack. It was Jordan Poyer. Micah Hyde had an interception. Jordan Poyer had another interception. So good game for him. Steven Hauska missed his only field goal. So, clearly this game speaks more to the Buffalo Bills than it does the New York Jets. The Jets scoring 12 points, that is actually kind of high for them, but nothing that went on with the Jets is anything that you would expect. Or would not expect, that is. And for Buffalo, they've got to figure out this offense. You've got to be able to do better against the Jets than 21-12. And Tyrod Taylor has to be able to play better at times. Excuse me. And then the final game, if I can get through it, I'm doing a lot of talking. The Arizona Cardinals lost to the Detroit Lions 35-23. It was 20-6 in the fourth quarter. This was a pretty competitive game for most of the time. Detroit, though, coming back and finding a way to win. We've discussed it. This is what this team has to do this year if they want to take that next step. Carson Palmer, 27 of 48, 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions, 269 yards. David Johnson, only 11 of 23. He's a better running back than that. Karen Williams, 5 for 10, that's 2.1 and 2 yards per rush, respectively. 18 of 45, 2.5 yards per rush. Karen Williams had the touchdown. And those numbers at 2.5 yards per rush include a 10-yard rush, so a 10-yard per average by John Brown. Larry Fitzgerald, 6 of 74. David Johnson, 6 of 68. J.J. Nelson, 5 for 43. He had the touchdown. Jaron Brown recovered a fumble. David Johnson, not a good game by him. 2 fumbles, he lost one of them. The team had 1 sack. It was Chandler Jones. Justin Bethel had an interception, returned to 82 yards for a touchdown. Karen Williams, 2 kick returns for 46 yards. Full Dawson was 1 for 2 in his field goals. Nothing of note in the punt returns. Matt Stafford, 29 of 41, making things happen, 292 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception. Not just quantity over quality in the receiving game, also in the passing game. In the running game. Amir Abdullah, 15 of 30. Dwayne Washington, 6 of 22. That's 2 and 3.7 yards per rush, respectively. Matt Stafford, 2 of 14. Casey Redford, 1 of 10. Golden Tate, 2 of 7. The team, 27 of 82, 3 yards per rush. 2, 4, 6 guys carried the ball. Also distributed nicely to Matt Stafford. Every receiver, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, caught more than 1 passes. 2 of them caught more than 5. Golden Tate led the way, 10 of 107, no touchdowns. Kenny Golladay, 4 of 69, 2 touchdowns. Marvin Jones Jr., 2 of 37, 1 touchdown. TJ Jones, 2 of 32. Theo Riddick, 6 of 27, 1 touchdown. Amir Abdullah, 3 for 11. Eric Ebron, 2 of 9. That's exactly what I'm expecting from the Detroit Lions. They don't have any singular one weapon. Golden Tate is solid, did have a good game, but they're going to distribute the ball. I told you that in the season preview. Now you all got to start listening to me. Jared Davis, the rookie, recovered a fumble. Casey Redford lost a fumble. There was only 1 sack. It was Anthony Zettel. Miles Killebrew, Glover Quinn, Tavon Wilson all had interceptions. Killebrew returned his 35 yards for a touchdown. Jamal Agnew, 3 punt returns of 48 yards. His longest was 24, so 16-yard average, but you take that off, it's down to a 12-yard average because it's 2 of 24. So not bad, but certainly not spectacular either. Matt Prater was 1 for 1 in his field goal. So Arizona really had a chance in this game. They completely imploded. Carson Palmer, too many turnovers. If this was a game where Arizona was going to turn it around, you could have lost it. You can't lose it the way that they did, just imploding the way that they did. For the Detroit Lions, a team, like I said, make or break season for them, and they showed it in week 1 coming back. Matt Stafford distributing the ball, as we said. Expect a lot of that from the Lions offense moving forward. All right, so that is it for the earlier 1 o'clock games. We got some games going on right now. Looks like Seattle just returned a touchdown. I don't know if it was a fumble or an interception, but we'll keep an eye on those when they go final. We'll give you the recaps, and of course the Sunday night game when that goes final. So be sure to stay tuned. We'll see you in a little bit.